Well, good morning. This was posed to us from a few of the membership to consider having a roundtable. We're not large enough to consider chapters, and that chapters just makes me cringe. So, those that I have never met, my name is Rob Klaus, and I help with the education side of the CCPIA, and I just want to welcome everybody here. This will be free flowing here in a moment. I don't have a great deal of agenda because I wanted this to be a roundtable, a collaboration for which you all, and there's 24 of us right now on the page, but you all get to ask questions of your peers. And we can grist through anything you might have. It could be a problem. It could be an issue. It could be a victory. Whatever it is, it's an opportunity for all of us to gain knowledge without the fear of well, maybe a little embarrassment, but this will be a safe space. You don't have to worry about anybody coming back at you. But the whole goal is and I've said this throughout my entire career, and those that know me, I believe very strongly in rising tide raises all the boats. And so if one is out there anywhere in the country doing a killer commercial inspection, then that only means the rest of us get the opportunity tomorrow to do another one because you were out there being awesome. So that's kind of where I'm at. In the future calls, I'm hoping that those of you that continue to participate will be sending in notes. Hey, Rob, I've got a question about, and then we're gonna take that question, and we'll grist through it as a team, and we'll each help each other learn and grow. Does that make sense? Sure.
Lots of good sense.
Sure. So does anybody want to fire up, or should there be something that I throw something out there for us? Jeff.
Morning. I had a company approach me and offer to assist with phase 1 environmental inspections. So what can you tell me?
What can I tell you? I think phase 1s are awesome. If you don't know what they are, a phase 1 is building research history and then a walk around the property. It might even involve a phase 1 might even involve testing for mold, soil, radon, etc. A phase 2 fixes it, and a phase 3 reinvestigates. Me personally, I never wanted to do any of them. And the reason is I was too busy out there doing inspections. And so I partnered with the phase 1, 2, 3 company. And my relationship with them was a little altruistic. I didn't ask for any money. I just wanted to make sure they remembered every job I gave them so that when somebody calls them up, I got inspections from them.
Gotcha.
And it worked out to about a dozen a year that I got from them. But that doesn't mean that you can't say, I've got a partner that does them and then make some money. I think if we go around, we'll call this a room. If we go around this room, I think you're going to find that there's going to be a fair amount of colleagues here that farm out phase 1.
Right.
And I think that's awesome. And I think we're going to also find that in the next decade, the realtors are the ones driving the phase buses and the lenders drive the phase buses. And I think we're going to find that we're going to be able to start driving some buses and get ahead of the realtors. And then that's when we win. Anybody else have anything about phase 1s?
Hey, it's Lance from Oklahoma. I don't know if you guys hear me. I'm driving right now to a commercial in the rain, so sorry if it sounds crappy. I think everything that I have found out about phase one, because we do inspections in Oklahoma and all the surrounding states, and I have found that every state, the idea of a phase one, like an ESA one, is somewhat similar, but also I found different groups that do it because they have to have different requirements. Like in Oklahoma, I can't do a phase one unless I have an engineering background. I found other states where they're a little bit more loose on that, depending upon the type of recs you're looking for. So I would suggest as people start researching the type of referrals and people they want to work with, really understand your state specifically so that you make sure you're pairing business with the right people. Because much like commercial is, there's still sectors of our inspection business where it's unfettered and no one's keeping an eye on it. So you want to make sure that whoever is doing the business you're referring is doing it correctly in your state or necessarily region, depending upon where you're located.
Thanks, Lance. I know that Maggie and I met as most recently as yesterday, and phase 1, 2, and 3 is high on our list as not only a course, but it's also high on our list to have as a topic for Orlando next year. So thank you for that question. Anybody else have any? Yeah, Dylan.
Yeah, this is Dylan from Arizona. My biggest thing is I think that, we've talked a lot about this amongst the group, is commercial has a different language sometimes. And the phase 1 inspection is a part of the language. So, for example, the gentleman that asked this question, somebody reached out to get an inspection from him, and this is a service they want. And if you don't know what that service is and what it's, how to perform it, or at least something about it, you don't have to necessarily be the one performing it, but you have to know the language, what it means, what they're looking for, and probably have some trusted people that you can, send to the job, at least a couple people, different parts of your area or state or the states you're going to be operating in, so that you can, provide the service or not, and be able to say, no, we don't provide that, but here's a couple people you can reach out to, however you want to run it, but you should at least know what it is. And that's one of the biggest things I hope to get from this group is more knowledge on the vocabulary of commercial inspections, because it really is a whole nother avenue and a whole nother ballgame than home inspections. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Dylan. Yeah. I mean, I've always believed that you have to answer the question with, sure, how can I help? Versus I don't know. I think that's an old Disney thing, that you never say, I don't know that answer. You sure, how can I help? And if you don't know the answer, you find somebody. Jamie, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for bringing up the topic. With Jamie, the real estate inspection company in San Diego. Yeah, on the phase 1, I recently lost a couple of jobs, not knowing enough about it, not having a referral, and of course us not doing it. So we've had people calling up, and we're giving them a quote, and they want to go with a company that can do both and do it at the same time. So I think after the call, I'm going to try to find some companies to partner with on that, so I don't continue losing jobs because we don't know what phase 1 is or do it. So
yeah. Now the challenge is always going to be for those that are playing in this. Phase 1 involves quite a bit of research. You're actually at the county. You're going back in titles, because the idea of phase 1 is you're looking at all the ownership for the lifespan of that building, because you don't know if 10 owners ago they weren't painting watch faces on glow-in-the-dark watches with radioactive thorium or radium. And so that's the whole idea of it is. And so make sure that you understand that these aren't just, sure, I can be there Tuesday at 10 jobs, because somebody's doing that research. Now they might do the walkthrough or the walk around at that time, but it does take just a wee bit of effort. and so be careful of those.
Yeah, and if I could add one more thing, most reports that can be generated from any one contractor, including yourself, have a somewhat fast turnaround. But a general ESA 1 in our region in the Midwest takes close to 2 to 3 weeks for them to produce. So that's something to think about when you're in conversation with your client, because sometimes clients may have a really long due diligence period, and sometimes they may need a turnaround in 14 days. And if they do need an ESA 1 based on, say, lending requirements, make sure they understand that this is not a fast turnaround report that these companies produce. Much like Rob said, it takes time for them to research and put all the documentation together. Their walk through the building literally may be 30 minutes, but their report writing process can take weeks on end.
The walk through the building is actually laughable for all of us that are walking through a building doing our inspections, and you go, "Oh, you guys are done?"
Right. They're like appraisers in the real estate world and residential.
So it sure sounds like phase one is a huge conversation for our group, and so that just reaffirms for Maggie and I how important it is that we continue our push to make sure that when we're together in Orlando, that we have a conversation and some resources for us. So thank you. Is your hand still up, Dylan, or do you have another thing?
Nope, I'll put it down. Didn't know I needed to lower it. I'm lowering it now.
Anything else? Anybody else have another question? That was great. This is exactly what we wanted to do here.
I'm interested to know what building type most people are having trouble creating a formal proposal for.
Did everybody hear that? So the question was, what type of buildings are people having difficulty proposing? Garrett.
Yeah. I didn't have my hand up. I'm just listening to the answer.
Oh, all right. I just saw your hand sitting in the corner, Garrett.
I hit that by accident, sorry.
Anybody else have any issues?
So this is Andre. My issue is just getting started. You know, where to. Normally, I've built my residential business on going to open houses because the realtors are all sitting ducks. It's not so easy with the commercial to to start the marketing. I mean, website and flyers and all of that I've got set up, but most of my business I build on relationships, just like everybody else has. And I'm just seeing, how do I get started with some commercial realtors? What's a good way to start meeting them? That's my first question. Proposals, I'm going to run into that problem later, I think.
Well, we hope so, Andre. We sure hope so. Jamie.
Yeah, I'll comment on the second part. I didn't catch your name there, who was just on. We year over year have done 4x the amount of commercial now. Last year we didn't do a whole lot, so let's say we've gone from about 10,000 in a year in revenue, which is pretty much nothing, to 40,000. So it sounds good to 4x, but 20 years we've been in business, home inspections was the majority of it, and we always did commercial but never took it seriously. So first off, CCPIA has been tremendous help, but two things specifically to answer that I have found that brought in a lot more business. One is surprisingly Google ads, the LSA Google Guarantee side of it, and just the traditional Google ads. We've seen a tremendous uptick in people finding us, straight to the client instead of the realtor. But the second that we started doing a lot more of was networking with the commercial real estate associations. So the brokers and realtors that are part of whatever your area, your state, your region, the commercial real estate associations, and going to their gatherings, going to their offices, giving some talks in front of them. So that those two things I think have been the biggest factor for us in getting a lot more commercial jobs. Side note to all of that, I guess the original question with challenges with proposals and all that stuff is we've gotten a lot better at landing the jobs, but we probably still have about 50% of them that call in and get a quote don't end up on our schedule. So that's something we're working on.
One of the so you're absolutely right, Jamie, and to help Andre out, Google ads are great, especially if you have the budget for it. What also is very good is the networking. I found that I was in a large metropolitan area when I was still working before I retired, and in that large area, every realtor group has a subset that is a commercial focus group, whether they're strictly an industrial group or whether they're a generic commercial group. And I found folks that if you join them, you're probably going to be one of a small group, versus if you join the main group of realtors, then there's another 100 or 50 or 75 or whatever home inspectors in that group. But the key is don't just join. And I bet Jamie will echo this. Don't just join, but be at every meeting, participate. If they're bagging clothes for the holidays, you got to be there. And the more often you're there, they see you're engaged in their group, and they're more likely to participate in you and help you grow your business because they like you. But by and large, those that know my story, in 6 years, I went from one inspection a month to 25 and 30 a month, all off the back of finding the client. And that's going back to Google. And we didn't spend any money on Google. It was 100% keeping our website active, 100% being engaged, blogging every week, and being organic, because that's free. Dove, you got a question, buddy?
Hi, actually, my question's for Jamie. Jamie, great information. What keywords were you using for your AdWords?
Let's see here. The Google Guarantee LSA is a little bit different. There's AdWords in there, but the basic setup of it, there's sort of a toggle button on and off of what services you provide. I guess I don't have it in front of me, but there's a whole list of property condition assessment, commercial building inspection, all these words, commercial real estate, just all of the different sort of commercial verbiage that I'm drawing a blank, not having it in front of me, all the other things we've put in, but triple net and like just all those kinds of words that people start with. But I'd have to go back in, log in. I'm sort of over the last year sort of new to taking over the Google ads for our company and learning it all. I was a full-time inspector since about 2005, home inspector primarily, and learning all the Google ads and optimizing it. I'll say that the negative keywords are also just as important, because you get a tremendous amount of calls if you don't have it dialed in that are just not the right type of client and what they're looking for. And so I think what was mentioned just a minute ago, if you have the budget for it, we're spending a lot of money to get those. And I want to say that for our campaign as a whole right now, home inspection and commercial, sewer, mold, all this stuff combined, I think we're at like $250 per inspection that we close right now. It's really bad. It should be way lower than that. So, so the negative keywords can be just as important to not be getting the bad leads. It's something you don't even provide. There's Inspector Toolbelt has a podcast maybe a year ago, 6 months ago, and I'm forgetting the guy's name, but there was 2 episodes that a guy came on and he was talking on Google Ads and the LSA, not commercial specific, but just our industry. And you look that one up, Inspector Toolbelt podcast, and listen in. I think the gentleman was out of Florida, and got a lot of tips there from him.
Yeah, I think 250. I think 250 is actually a pretty good number when you get started. I think that's very reasonable because commercial inspections come in, on average of at least 10 times that. So I don't think that's that bad to get started.
Yeah. Well, especially you land a $3,000 or $4,000 and up job. But another way that we look at that, although we're going to try to make it better with our company, is, each one of those is an opportunity to meet, a new realtor, a new broker, whoever, property manager, all these various things. So I look at it that way, that so far, some of these that we've landed through that, we've made a new connection that will bring in business in the future.
Sorry, Rob, I have one more question for the group.
Yeah.
Dylan had mentioned on earlier on the Facebook, or I don't remember where, that if he had to do it all over again, he wouldn't have his state or city or town in the name of his company. I just want to hear from the group because I'm in New York and I really want to service New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And I thought it'd be great for, organic, which is, like Rob was saying, is free, to be New York building inspection. And I spent a lot of time, setting all that up. So I'd like to hear from some others what their experience has been.
I would say, Dove, and this goes to anyone, not just you, but directing to you because you asked the question. I would certainly say keep your name as specific as possible for building inspections, and then within your website and your SEO, as you construct it online or Google Ads or whatever it might be, that you put state-specific items inside of it. So like, for example, if you go to my website, we reference Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Texas, etc., so that if anyone Googles in that area for a specific type of inspection, they will pop up and find our stuff on a first page Google search. So, I mean, as far as like it being Oklahoma building inspectors, I didn't want that because I wanted to be able to capture other areas. But Oklahoma is specifically mentioned on my website multiple times as our headquarters, whatever. But we do speak of those other states within our website and SEO and Google Ads as well. So wherever you want to go, I think it needs to be in your vernacular within your advertising, but not necessarily in your name, as you mentioned.
I know if you listen to Nick's got a very strong philosophy on naming companies, and I can't remember what it was. It's 2 things, and I think one of them begins with a color and the other is an action. But I think, Dean, you had your hand up first, and then Raul.
A color and something you can hold in your hand.
That's it. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The one thing that we've taken advantage of is that about 30 to 60 days ago, now she came out with a video for each individual commercial inspector. And we've taken advantage of that. And I'll tell you what, once you've seen that, it's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it is a sweet presentation. And what we're doing is sending that out to all the commercial brokers in the Metro Denver area that we have built a list for. And then I have checked back with some of these guys, and they said, we have never seen anything like this. And we are really impressed with the fact that you have such a nice video put together that we can use to show our potential buyers of property, and they like it. And you guys ought to be huge pat on the back for coming up with that idea, because I think that if everybody will take advantage of that, it can do anything but help.
How much was that video to produce, Dean?
Pardon me?
How much did we charge for that video?
Not one nickel. And that's why it's another thing that you guys have come up with in the commercial division to help build commercial businesses. If somebody will just follow everything that you guys have done for the commercial inspectors, you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to go anywhere else. You guys have got it all. And it's an absolutely awesome way to build your business, and it's easy.
Thank you, Dean. Raul.
Yes, good morning, everybody. So PCA, property condition assessment, that's typically the language or the verbatim that is used to get those reports to our clients, and that's what they request most of the time. Is there a specific format that you guys recommend in that regard?
Well, PCA is a format that's produced using the ASTM standards specifically, and they have a format. Basically, the ASTM is a reporting system, and not necessarily a standard of practice. So I really can't help you with that. I found personally, after 30, I inspected for 35 years. And in 16, when I discovered the CCPIA, I switched my standard altogether, and I didn't even have a client know I switched to standard. And so it's possible they might be asking you for something that they don't know they're asking you for, just because they've been classically conditioned like Pavlov's dog. So that might be something that you can say next time they call and ask you for that. I need a PCA. Say, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a commercial building inspection? I am an expert at those. And I actually tried very hard to turn that conversation around. And then that referral source never even knows the difference again. But if you're looking for PCA, I'm sorry, I can't provide you much guidance on that. I'm sure some of the others in this group can. But when it comes to a commercial property inspection and the walkthrough survey, I'm all over that. We can help with that. So if that helps you at all, Raul.
Yeah, and the PCA, I believe it also touches on cost of repairs.
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that with my home inspection business. I don't get into those details.
When it comes to cost of repairs, it's a lot like providing an appraisal. It's magic. And we just had, and Lance is having, and I'll speak for Lance because I know he's driving through some weather right now. I can tell you that in February, we will have a 2-day class in Boulder, all on cost to cure and cost aggregation, which will help anybody with that business, as well as we're creating an online course that will help you do cost to cures, resources, exercises, etc. So that's coming. But when it comes to cost to cure, it's a little bit like magic. It's you got to be kind of a mental contractor, and you got to start thinking about, okay, I've got a 10-foot tall, 200-foot long masonry wall that requires tuck pointing, and I have to figure out how much does it cost to tuck point that wall in my marketplace. But the idea is you're going to be wrong, Raul. Live with it. It's okay. Have some caveat. We have the caveat and the clauses on our website as resources that says, yep, here's a cost to cure. And oh, by the way, I'll be lucky to be within 20%. So good luck. Have fun. But when you do them, make sure you charge for them. The most expensive repair I ever did on a building was $4.7 million on a $10 million property. It was a pretty dire repair. Dave, you had your hand up, buddy.
Yeah. Hi, this is Dave in the Chicago area. I just had a question, or I guess I want to see if anybody had any advice on, we've been doing residential sewer scoping for a while now, or the last couple of years. We've been doing a ton of them for residential houses. And we've started to add that to our commercial, ancillary services, but as the buildings get larger and larger, we're kind of running into some issues actually performing them. I just want to see if anybody else had any experience with it and any advice you guys got.
Well, I'll ask this: what kind of problems are you guys running into on commercial doing your sewer scope?
With the scopes we're using, they're kind of, I think, more geared for smaller pipes, like 3, 4, 5 diameter pipes, and we're running into 8 and 9 and 12-inch diameter. We almost can't see anything. We have to go through manholes, which we're not very experienced with, and we're just running into some actual logistical issues with it.
If I might jump in here, I've been doing sewers for about more than 10 years. And what kind of issues you mean that you're having problems with, like going with a 90, going around the band, or
well, with the larger pipes, it'll be like there's 3 or 4 inches of standing water, and the cameras that we're using can't see anything at all, really. Like, it's just, we're no visibility on these larger diameter pipes, or we're finding that going into manholes is just not something that we enjoy doing, and we're having clients just annoyed that we can't do a proper sewer scope that we're charging for, basically.
So you basically run into a lot of sags into the line.
Mm-hmm.
So
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of mini cams, they have we call it spiders, right? So it's like a razor, and it raises up like about 2 or 3 inches up diameter of the lens of the camera. So with that, you're able to go through those sags with no problem. And before you go into those sags, just make sure you record it. Hey, listen, we're having problems with sags on the line. And just note it. And once you go over that, I guarantee you're going to come out the sag with those razors.
In West Coast, those are commonly referred to as a skid.
Right. We call it razors, but those are really good. I don't know if you have them, but that will help you a lot.
No, I don't.
Dave, they're neoprene, hard neoprene, round. I call them. They're like a wiffle ball that bolts on the head of your camera that'll raise your camera up, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches, depending on your diameter of your pipe.
Okay, cool.
The other thing you can do, the other thing I've found here in Arizona, there's one company, and I haven't had to use them yet, but I've had some good conversations and I have them in my back pocket. He actually has small robots that he can send down into the sewer. So that's what he does for a living. He just does large diameter sewer systems. He scopes and videos the insides of sewer systems and does condition and knows how, he's going to know the cost of repair and all that type of stuff. So maybe finding a resource like that and searching that in your area and having somebody in your back pocket for those larger scale properties that are going to have those type of systems. And then when it's more of a, residential or smaller pipe that you can handle. The other thing is getting a stiffer push cable that can help as well with some of that stuff. I know that's not what you're talking about as far as not being able to see over the deeper water because of the larger pipe, but something to think about as a stiffer push cable as well.
Dave, give me a call this afternoon. I'll give you some resources.
I can comment on that.
Yeah, Mike.
This is Michael, Sterling Commercial. I started sewer scoping about 15 years ago. I did have the first camera for sale at a national show with 3 Days of Secrets Revealed. So if anybody was at that, I was the one who was selling cameras there as a sales rep. I don't do that anymore. I'm really into commercial, but you want a scissor skid. A scissor skid's going to expand and contract. Scissor, kind of like a pair of scissors you cut paper with. It does that scissoring action, so it'll expand and it'll contract. If you're going small and then you get to big, has rollers on it, but the skid's what you're really looking for. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
And each camera is going to be a little bit different. We happen to use rigid. Just it's the only one that has an inclinometer. Inclinometer means it tells you the angle at which you're at, because when you start going downhill and you're underwater, as you're underwater, you can't really see because it's too murky. You can't tell when you're starting to level out and when you're starting to come back. But the inclinometer on the screen will tell you the degree of angle, so you know when you're starting to come out of the belly. I don't sell rigid, so I'm not trying to promote rigid. I'm just telling you what it does.
Thank you. Thank you. Curtis, you had your hand up.
Yeah. This is from a question from earlier, but one of my biggest challenges pricing like a multi-tenant strip mall where you've got, say, 3 restaurants, 7, clothing stores, a nail salon, and a massage parlor. And they don't want the tenants to know that the property is for sale. And so you can't go through and do a bunch of research. So I end up writing a quote that is kind of more open-ended, where you say, I looked like I saw 26 air conditioners, but if there are more air conditioners, we'll have to charge more or less. And we don't know what, if you haven't, like I had to have an electrician subcontractor come in, but we don't know what's in the buildings. And so I end up pricing that for the hour of their time and saying they're saying it could be from 8 to 16 hours. And so how do you guys price something like that where there's a lot of unknowns and you can't do a lot of research?
So this is Lance again from Oklahoma. So we do a lot of strip malls. And to refer back to someone's comment about PCAs earlier, we don't use that vernacular, but the traditional PCA that a lot of people refer to is simply just a walkthrough of the property. And so I think when it comes to a strip mall or something like that, you have to, one, figure out what your client needs exactly, because they're all going to be different. It could just be a very simple overview. They may want you to look at the lease agreement if everyone's a triple or double net and have an idea of what everyone's responsible for, create something based on that. And there's going to be a degree of variance, right? If anyone's ever done something like this or a multifamily, you're not going to get into every unit, or you're going to try but only get so far. So I probably would keep it a very simplistic inspection. So, for example, yesterday we were given a proposal for a large strip mall, had like a Kmart in it, a dog store, and all this stuff. And I spoke to 2 other inspectors in the area who got the same proposal, and they all way overbid, and we got it, but we bid appropriately because we realized we were going to go in and really collect data and get in and out, because that's really what most of those people need, unless they specifically say, give me something very in depth, which I find groups that are buying shopping centers, they just want to know what's the quick and dirty, what are going to be my big capital expenses, and then move on. So you may not get to every HVAC system, and it may not even be necessary. Half of the systems in those type of shopping centers, I don't even operate, especially if it's a building that is utilizing that system fully or using it for business. Some of those systems I don't even turn on. I just acknowledge them and move on. So I think all that goes back to, what are you trying to provide ultimately for your client based on your pre-inspection conversation?
So Lance, if you had say a commercial realtor that said he wanted a really in-depth inspection of a shopping mall, would you try to steer him towards more of a kind of just explaining that that's not necessarily the best practice, or would you go with the in-depth?
Well, I'll ask you this, and it may have just been how you presented the question. If it's a real estate agent who's working on behalf of the client, I will never build any sort of rapport or conversation about what I can provide unless I've spoken to the client first, whether through email or a phone call, only because, kind of like what you're saying, the real estate agent's like, hey, I just need a basic inspection, or I really need a good in-depth inspection. Often what I have found is commercial real estate professionals, they do not themselves even understand the full vernacular of what we provide. So if you use even the term PCA with an agent, they may not even know what that means. And so I think it comes to kind of like what you just said. You say, here's what most of my clients want. If you can't necessarily talk to a client, and just say, they want usually something very basic. They want an understanding of the building as a whole, and then maybe just an idea of, some of the life expectancy of the systems. And this is where Raul was talking about, this is where a cost to cure comes in, because they just want to know how much are big things going to cost, and what is that going to do to affect my bottom line. And I think the conversation can be kept very simple. But if you can at any cost try and speak to the client and understand their needs. Because sometimes the client's needs and what the real estate agent wants don't translate. We're so used to residential where the agent does everything for the client. I probably, out of the 550 commercial inspections I've done, I probably have only spoken to 10% of real estate agents. The rest have been the client, if I can help it.
Okay, but I guess if it's a real estate trust, then you would have to go through whoever's bringing them to the trust.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And at that point, again, I think it needs to go back to your kind of your pre-inspection understanding of what you're wanting to provide for them. And that just goes to honestly knowing what to ask, understanding that type of building type. Because if you've done that building a few times, then you have an idea of what it's going to take to really complete it and provide a good report. And that just comes from experience.
I'm pretty new, so this is the biggest residential strip mall I've bid on, and so if you, I may hit you up sometime with some questions.
Please do, yeah. Feel free to message me.
That would be awesome.
Remember, Curtis, you're a for-profit company, and so I've always built every proposal I ever wrote, and I've wrote thousands of them based on what my client needs. So if they ask me for a 3-scoop sundae with sprinkles and then have it dipped in chocolate, then re-sprinkled again, I'm gonna do that with a smile on my face. And if they ask me for just a scoop of vanilla ice cream, then I'm gonna sell them that too. So do a really good interview and then build everything you do off of that interview. And I promise you, at the end of the day, you're not going to go back to your team and go, "I'm sorry, guys, I screwed up and left money on the table," or I didn't anticipate that, because especially strip centers, there's not much in a strip center that you can't see from a satellite image or a street view image, because at the end of the day, you're just inspecting the box. It's not like it's some unique warehouse or some other type of building that once you open there, you go, "Oh, well, this is unique." Strip centers are pretty much straightforward retail spaces that everything's pretty much visible.
Right. All right. Thank you.
No, thank you. Anything else? We've got it's 7:45, actually, 8:45, 9:45, 6:45, or 15:45 for our friend in South Africa.
I'm just curious how many people, or what the percentage of inspectors that do commercial, just do commercial building inspections, just a defect-based report, versus a true PCA where you're doing a capital expense sheet where you're costing out the major issues. How many people really do PCAs, do you think?
Are you asking how many of us in here provide a PCA, or how many of your clients want a PCA?
Oh no, how many of you actually do them? Not offer them, that actually really do them. I mean, everybody can offer them, but nobody asks for it, or nobody. Yeah, how many of you actually do it?
I have done quite a few of them. That's only because I work with due diligence firms that are nationwide that require them from us. But I would say the majority of my clients who just find me on Google, or it's Betty who's running a daycare, or Joe and Joanne want to start their own little shopping center, and so they just want to invest. Most of them don't know what it is, and so I just say I'm going to provide a building inspection, and then I upsell a reserve table or a cost to cure, because I think it'll be beneficial to them. But as far as a true PCA, many people don't, and they don't know what it is. So if you get in cahoots with a large, due diligence engineering type firm that requires that of you, then you may do it. But I would say 90% of the stuff I do every week, PCA doesn't even come up in conversation or vernacular.
Why don't just for fun, if as a rule, not an exception, you provide cost to cure on every inspection, hit the raise your hand button right now.
Wow.
All right. And so I'm going to clear all the hands right now. Just, so that gives you a representation of just the few that, when I did them, My cost to cure was the exception, and I charged a lot of money for them extra because my clients didn't ask for them or didn't know to ask for them. Jamie.
We've well, let me back up. I was on with a sort of mastermind group, Inspection Empire Builder, and similar to this call, people across the country. And it was the opinion of who was presenting that mastermind that I think they had cited something like 80% of people in their experience in the commercial world expect a PCA or want a PCA. And I don't recall what state that was operating in, but that came up a lot. And we tried moving towards as close as we could following that ASTM, the E 2018 standard, which they refer to that as a guide. So we moved closer. We moved closer towards trying to match what's in there. In some of, if you read through that standard, I forget it's what, 28 pages or something like this. Some of it's, hey, you know, photos of ingress, egress, or exterior elevations, literally just photos. And so we started incorporating those sorts of things into our template. But the way we started handling cost to cure, we have a third party that we upload a PDF of our report to, and they spit back an estimate for everything. And so it's contractors in our area that are actually giving real pricing and all that stuff, and we just attach that to our report. And it's somewhere along the way in the verbiage of that ASTM standard, it discusses using, you know, outside party or third party or something like that. So we're not actually coming up with any of the pricing. It's simply a supplemental report coming from a third party. And interestingly enough, they actually do this for free. Primarily, this company started, it's called the Quick Fix. It started for home inspections where, you know, clients upload their home inspection report, they give them real pricing and connect them with contractors in their area, but they're moving towards, you know, doing commercial, all that stuff. So I don't honestly know how accurate all this pricing is, but that was a long answer of that is our version of trying to provide some level of cost to cure. I'm not that happy with it. I'd like to take this another step and really embed something in the report a little bit better. But you know, essentially, it allows you to give at least a ballpark range of whatever the topic is. And just a side note too, my understanding with the ASTM standard is you're really looking for, you know, $3,000 and up items. In a home inspection, a lot of the homes we all inspect, you know, there's going to be a tremendous amount of things that would be less than that $3,000 mark. So we're trying to focus on the big picture stuff, but that's where we're at with it right now.
We've actually got an arrangement with Repair Pricer too. You can get a link to through our website that provides a discount to Repair Pricer, but they will do it. And again, we're all in this for profit. So if you use an outside company to prepare your cost to cure, you know, you have the opportunity to charge your client for that opportunity as well. So think about that as you're moving forward. I think there was a hand raised. No, I don't see it anymore. But we had Scott Harris, who wrote the maintenance book, in our office last year or earlier this year. I'm sorry, doing a cost course. And I think if I was redoing my world all over again, I don't think I'd ever provide cost to cure as a tabulation to my clients ever again. And reason I wouldn't do it would be I didn't want them to open up the summary and go, holy cow, there's $500,000 worth of issues. But I think what I'd end up doing if I was starting all over again tomorrow, is I think at each section of my report, I'd have a tabulation for each subsection. You know, here's your HVAC concerns, here's your electric concerns, here's your plumbing concerns for expectations, and then charge a little bit more for my reports based on, you know, on that. I might charge an extra 10 or 15% for that effort. So the Dove asked the question, do many members of the group find IEB to be helpful in supporting the marketing for commercial? Silence.
Well,
yeah, Dove?
No, I think Jamie had mentioned IEB. That's why I put it up.
I haven't had a ton of interaction with IEB on it. I know they have sort of a Facebook page, and I believe they actually do a monthly meetings. But I'll say that it's going to look a lot like this call, and some of the things that have already been said on this call is essentially what they were talking about. So I think there was a question posed a minute ago of how often this call should happen, and I believe IEB specifically does it monthly, commercial sort of mastermind. So yeah, there's some value in it, but it sounds like CCPIA here is moving towards something similar, and the value. God, I think we've been with IEB 5 years. The value I have found, the highest value, is this: having conversations with others who have figured things out, and maybe you share something that you've figured out, and that's been the biggest benefit I have found is the what they say in IEB, the golden nuggets that you take from a call like this. That's really where it's at. So yes, they've been helpful, but also looking forward to doing more of these. Yeah.
So Jamie, would you add another option? It was monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly. Would you add a fourth option to that? As in bi-weekly?
I think that would be too frequently. I kind of paused. I was leaning towards quarterly when the question was posed here on this. But monthly is good as well if you're really trying to get after development. But yeah, initially, how we got towards the I guess quadrupling year over year, some of that came from being on some calls with IEB. But again, it's as much or more value already from this call right here that we're on. But of course, was provided at no charge, and there is a significant expense to be with IEB. So
should I start charging for this then, Jamie? I mean, there's no value in free.
Yes. By the way, we did the video. Thank you. I actually embedded it into our website, and LinkedIn, different places like that. We've shared it, and yeah.
So how did you do the video? Did you video your guys and send that in to them to be embedded into the video?
You want to tell us about it?
Yeah. So we Dove, I don't know if you've seen it. We actually scripted the whole video and hired actors, and we filmed it here in Boulder on 2 different buildings. And we hired realtor actors. We hired inspector actors. We've got a nice, diverse image shown on the screen. And none of our actors speak. It's all voiceover. But then what we do is we embed on the video your contact and your branding, so that it looks like you produced this video. It's very well done. It's very well shot. It's very tightly edited to be under 2 minutes. There's a 30-second one, a 1 minute one, I think a 1:31 that you get to choose from. And again, they're completely free and completely brandable to you. You get the link to the MP4, and you get to have fun, do what you want to do with it.
Wow, that's incredible.
I told everyone in my company that I created it. Of course, they thought I was a genius.
Well, hey, you'd be surprised all the stuff I've taken over the years to rebrand on my name.
I mean, I did create it. I did a 30-second email or form to CCPIA to have it created. So, you know.
I mean, I invented bourbon, so leave me alone.
Yes, you did.
Brian, did you have a question?
No.
Oh, yeah,
I got a
Jamie.
question.
Yeah.
So I guess that most people that are gonna be on this call trying to get, to absorb information from the ones with experience with commercial inspections are home inspectors that wanna grow that side of the business. So, a question that comes to mind, in my opinion, is the setup. Do I do a separate business entity, or I incorporate the commercial in the same website?
Sure.
Marketing.
So Raul, are you a member of our organization?
Yes.
Good. So what I'd like you to do over till the next time we talk is in the resources, look up in the resources area, business structure. There are three we wrote an article last year about this, and there's really three distinct ways of getting into the business. One, a whole new company. I think Lance is a good testimony to this. Is build a whole separate company that only does commercial, and in that you're going to have whole new tax filings, whole new expenses, whole new tracking, but you really get to focus your world on that. You'll build a new website, etc. The other is building a division, and Dave Lambert's on the call because he used to work with me back in the day, and we built that entire company on a division of our primary company. And the benefit with a division is you might be doing a new DBA that might be commercial focused, but you get to share all the same resources, the same honeypot of budget, the same inspector resources, the same everything, but you really want to rebrand to be commercial because your clients need to be able to locate you, find you, and then when you're selling, because Jamie had said something earlier about how he's about 50% or so in sales. So if he gets 100 calls, he lands 50 jobs. I was landing about 78 to 85% towards the end there. And you want to have that focus so that they're not calling a home inspection company, they're calling a commercial inspection company. And the third is an ancillary service. And that's where on your website, you just got a pull down menu that says commercial. Your challenge with ancillary service, not saying it's bad, but your mental focus is, I do that, I do radon, I do mold, and I do sewer scopes. Oh, by the way, I do commercial too. And so you might not put the same focus, but if you're working in a spot that, let's say, is more rural, or you're working in a spot that that you don't want to do commercial as a primary, and it's going to be, but you still want to have some focus there, that's the ancillary way to go into the business. But most inspectors, they'll do the second version. They'll do the division of the main company. They'll rebrand their shirts. They might even rebrand their entire company, because the key is, and you'll see that in some of these articles and things that we've developed, is you don't want the word home or residential or house anywhere in your name if you're going after the commercial world. Just like you don't want to have an inspection report that you merged to create a commercial template for, that has, the shingles on the house, the shingles on the home, the plumbing in the home, because your client reads that and goes, who did I hire? Jamie, you had something to add?
I agree.
I was going to propose another question, another topic if we had time, but I will second that, Rob. Boy, we are unpacking. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see on the picture of me there, the logo on my shirt, right? It's a house with a magnifying glass. All of our vehicles, company vehicles, everything has got this house with the magnifying glass. And we do have, I guess you would call it ancillary, a drop down on the website with commercial. And it's like, we're trying to unpack this now and go the other direction. But another thing I've heard said since IEB came up is one of the biggest hurdles, home inspectors anyway, getting into commercial is moving away from doing a resi-mercial, I guess is the word they say, a home inspector doing a commercial inspection. And we're trying to move away from that. And the unpacking the template and not having anything related. So I guess, Rob, to second that, if I had to do it all over again, or maybe we may even go this direction, having a separate entity, separate website, your vehicles, your logos, all that stuff dedicated to it.
Yeah, and for a company like yours, Jamie, or a company like Dave Lambert's, your challenge with that is you're almost going to have to start a third company, not just two, because you'd have to have one company that does home inspections, one company that does commercial inspections, and a third company that is the payroll company for both. Otherwise, your inspectors are getting two different payroll checks every month.
That's a great. We're actually something we're having to do. We acquired a termite pest control business, and we're thinking about an umbrella. Anyway, that's a whole other direction. That whole thing. If possible, before we get off, I wanted to throw out thoughts on commercial real estate market and forecasts. I understand that. Well, they say that right now it's like a 30, maybe 40-year low for home inspections or just residential changing hands right now. The number of buyers, I know every market's different. Some markets are up, but ours is down tremendously, and one of the low points, I think, in home inspection industry. Question is, where's everyone seeing commercial right now? I know it's down. I know it's been cited that office buildings have maybe a 17% vacancy rate, which is the highest historically it's ever been. Does everyone else see commercial as the volume of properties changing hands being low? And do we think that prices will drop as they did like in Northern California, the Bay Area, tremendously, and have a surge of commercial buildings changing hands as they all go on sale? I know there's a lot to unpack there, but it seems as though there's a big change in the commercial real estate world as far as volume happening, vacancy, and price reductions. And I'm just wondering over the next 12 to 24 months if we're going to see a big shift in investors and larger companies buying up these buildings that are essentially going to be going on sale.
Well, I can tell you from my experience is 18 months stale, though, as I had a tremendous amount of new clients buying commercial properties and divesting in multifamily because of headaches. And so we're October, so I would imagine this quarter, if you're established in your marketplace, I bet your 1031 work is going to go through the roof, because there's probably going to be a lot of people that got to buy buildings before the end of the year. Otherwise, they're going to get taxed. But your topic is one that's probably a session all to itself. I just placed in the chat for anybody the link to the NAR Real Estate Metro Market Report. So that links every metro area by state. So that'll give you a little bit of idea of what may or may not be going on in the commercial world.
And if I could add,
sorry,
go ahead.
Rob,
I'm so sorry.
Where is it? Where is that? I'm not seeing that in the.
It's in the chat.
Oh, all right.
I think the chat might be a little bit delayed. I heard Rob earlier say hello from like South Africa, and that didn't pop up for about 5 minutes for me. So maybe it's delayed.
I can, oh, yeah, let's see here. Oh, yeah, there. I may or may not be using technology right.
Oh, okay. So there's a webinar chat and then there's a Q&A chat. It
Yep.
popped up in the Q&A chat.
I just put it in both. Lance.
Well, I was just going to just make one quick addition, and I think this is where having multitude of commercial inspectors from different regions that do different things is what makes us grow better as companies. Is if you are a commercial inspector and you are not thinking about maintenance type or portfolio type inspections, then you're missing out on, I believe, the majority of your money. I barely make any money on buying and selling of properties. Almost 90% of my income comes from portfolio inspections where I'm doing annual inspections for companies. And so, for example, in Oklahoma, every corner of Oklahoma has a church and a school. So I thought, well, how can I do inspections for these? And started talking to associations and joining groups. And now, we do probably over the next 3 years, we'll probably do close to 500 churches and schools. And that is a massive market that is completely untapped and unfettered because we're not thinking about it. We're coming from a home inspection process of people are buying and selling property. So I'm going to do an inspection for that. And in the commercial world, there's literally hundreds of opportunities for you to make money in all different facets and avenues. So while I might see that the commercial, real estate market has a small bit of a downturn, that does not mean that other people shouldn't be getting a certain type of inspection. It was an easy upsell for me to sell it to schools because while the market is slow, our economy is slow. Every dollar counts. And so they do not often have a maintenance group or program put in place. And so if I can show them that I can save them thousands of dollars over the next couple of years, it's a no-brainer every year to bring me out for, $1,500 to $2,000 and do an inspection for them. And so I hope that broadens your horizons as what you can provide as a commercial inspector, because it goes really far outside of just people buying and selling a property.
So I'm throwing up the 5-minute warning where we're going to have extra time for injuries. I don't know. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add or ask? Tony.
Hey, what's going on, Rob? Quick one for Lance. So we talked about this in Atlantic City also. How do you go about pricing when you're doing these maintenance inspections? Similar to a full inspection, I guess the write-up is a little more simplified. Or you're doing like a projection table, or I guess it depends what they're really looking for, but is it typically the same as like a real estate transaction, or half, or how does it usually work out?
It's normally half. So they don't need to know half the information about their building because it's their building. So I'm really giving them almost, as if you will, like a life expectancy of systems, a defect report. We'll look at major systems and then we'll look at safety, ADA, those type of things. Schools have playgrounds. So we got, certified to inspect playgrounds, kind of things like that. But it is a very truncated, reduced type report process. So while I may be on the site the same amount of time during normal inspection, my reporting is a much lesser type of report because that's all they really require and want.
Awesome. Thank you.
Michael.
Do I have my hand? Did I have my hand up? I'm sorry. Maybe
yes.
Maybe by mistake. I guess I have a question. When people are doing the cost to cure, are you coming up with the cost to cure? Or are you bidding that out with contractors that you have in your back pocket that you have relationships with? Or I know what I'm doing, but I'm just wondering what everybody else is doing.
Lance will give you some answers. I know for me, most of my questions were answered by Siri.
So in-house, you're not actually getting
I don't want to say word legitimate, but an actual quote to crane that gas pack up there, so it's a real usable quote.
No, I was not doing quotes. So they were asking, my clients were asking for an expert opinion on cost to cure. But Lance, what's your take on that?
Kind of all the above. So I don't like to use, and this is just my personal preference, I don't like to use Repair Pricer or some of those groups because they will give you a package report and it's final. So you don't get to change it or do any stylizing or adding to it. So if they bring you back something that is the wrong cost or something that is completely out of ordinary, then you're just kind of stuck with this report you paid for. So I'm with Rob. There's times where I'll Google things. My biggest proponent is local contractors. So I know all the areas I work in, and over the years, I've just talked to them and built good relationships. And I know about what it takes to repair some things. I heavily lean on items like, like an RS Means or a Bach and Clark type system that will give you national and local hard data. Again, kind of stealing that PCA mantra, I'm not really giving them prices on anything that's under probably $2,000. And so, and the bigger things, honestly, you'll notice that it's usually the same defects almost every building. It's usually a parking lot. It's usually a roof. It's usually, gas packs, or, if it's like a hotel, they got 200 P-tax, whatever. You usually realize it's the same kind of stuff over and over again. And again, just like Rob said, I'm giving them a variance. If I need to give them a specific cost, then I will bring in a contractor to just come on site and give a cost. So if I get on a roof and it's completely shot and needs to be replaced, I'm not even going to give them a variance. I'm just going to bring a roofer out and have them give a hard number that moment so they have a starting point.
The most important
that's what I did. That's what I've done. And it took me a while to get there. I had to get just the right contractors, get just the right relationships, and a lot of them will say, "Oh no, I'll come out and give you a free estimate." Say, "Nope, I don't want a free estimate." And this is just me. It may not work for anybody else, and probably won't, because a lot of men are cheap. Not picking on anybody, but I say, I'm going to pay you $200. And the reason I did that, and I cost that into the estimate. I'm going to bring them out. I'm going to pay them a couple $100, because if it's free, I found that they get lazy and they don't come out, or it takes a week, or it just takes too long. But if I'm actually paying them, I can hold the strings to the puppet a little bit. Say, hey, I'm paying you. I send the money over, and I go, hey, I paid you. You need to get out there, and they're a little bit more willing to move when I give them some money. And I don't have to pay for it. It's just part of the bid. And I did one just as a quick example. A guy flew in from California, because I live in the Tacoma, Seattle area, and customer came in from California, a realtor came in from California, 25-unit apartment complex. We had a brick guy come out and do a brick restoration. The estimate was $500,000. And he said, "Oh, I'm glad I didn't do a commercial bid on inspection. I'm glad I did a PCA." And ever since that event, I started really pushing the PCAs and explaining it to the client, because if the client understands it, the problem is the clients don't understand it. And the better they understand it, they'll want it. And I have guys say, well, they don't want it. Well, 15 years ago, people would tell me, nobody in my area wants a sewer scope. I said, well, they don't want it because you're not selling it, you're not offering it, you're not educating them. Now, I was probably the first one of 3 in the area that did sewer scoping. Now, sewer scoping is crazy in our area, so they'll buy it if you sell it.
The key to cost to cure, in my opinion, is setting the proper expectation with your client. Ask them a question. Ask them the question. What are you looking for from me? I'm a professional commercial inspector. I'm not a contractor. If you're looking for an idea that's going to be within 20% of budget, I'm your guy. But if you want a professional report that you're going to be able to understand the building, then I'm your guy. If you're looking for dollars and cents down to the last 1900 box, then you're going to want to have an electrician look at this project. That's always how I've always posed them to my clients, and it's been wildly successful for me. Yes, Michael, one more thing, and then I think we've got to wrap this up.
Yeah, is anyone directly advertising or communicating to banks or lenders? And if so,
are you attaining any jobs from it?
Michael, email me. I put my email in the chat. I'd be happy to answer that for you because the answer is yes from our side.
Thank you.
Michael Wicklund.
Yes, sir. Well, I thought I lowered my hand, but maybe I didn't.
Oh, okay.
My
If
apologies.
you
My
haven't, that's
apologies.
great. I know, Michael Stewart, you just raise your hand again.
No, it was already answered.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody. The results of the poll I put out there, 71% wants to do this again monthly. So we'll do this again in November. Most likely the week before Thanksgiving. We have a live class going on in the beginning of November. And I don't want to do this during Thanksgiving week because most of you are probably going to either be busy or traveling. But we'll do it again in November. Look for our announcements. We will be for all of you. As if I don't do this, I will get in trouble. We will be in beautiful Texas in January at the Tropea conference, and we've got a 3-day class coming up in Fort Lauderdale that will be taught by Ray Ward. I'll be out there as well to support Ray, but we will be there, and then that'll be in Fort Lauderdale, and then Lance is going to do a cost to cure class in Boulder in February, as well as we've got a 3-day going on in February. So if you're looking to get into the business, this is the year. We're going to be all over the place and here to support you. My email is simple. It's rob@ccpia. My phone number is simple. I'll put my phone number right here for you, just because if Nick will give out his cell phone, so will I. I'll answer my phone to any member. I'll help everybody wherever I can, whether it's helping you with a proposal, helping you with a personal question. We're always here to support. But thank you, everybody, for taking your time on this Tuesday, and please stay safe.
Thank you, Rob. That was excellent.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone.
Thank you, Rob.
Have a good
great
day.
Really great meeting. Thank you.